You know today's gonna be the day we don't agree, right?
Good news, everyone. I'm sure you've noticed that Knob Creek Happy Harry's single barrel has been empty on the shelf for a few months now. Afternoon, Aaron.
Hi, Greg.
I got some goodies for us today.
Perfect.
Time for a new barrel. Got a fresh batch of samples from Knob Creek. The good news is our first pick for 2023 will be on the shelves this week. This is usually the part that takes a little while. Do you have a favorite?
I do.
When it comes to single barrel whiskey, it's not a huge difference from what you'll find on the shelf most any other day. The number one thing when we select a barrel, number one is it has to be balanced and it has to have a great mouthfeel. When it comes to single barrels, Knob Creek has been a friend of Happy Harry's for 20 plus years. It's always been one of our biggest friends when it comes to picking single barrels. We've always loved their liquid because they've always been consistent, great, and always a crowd pleaser. When we sit down to pick a Happy Harry's barrel for our customers, we typically get 3 samples that are straight from the barrel, where myself and our tasting team will sit down, taste through the samples, and look for flavors, aromas, balance, finish, and all that good stuff, and we'll pick the winner and we'll bottle it up for you. So we got a fresh batch of barrel samples from Knob Creek. Should be good stuff. We've got 3 barrels. We got barrel A. Comes off the 4th floor. We got barrel B coming off the 6th floor. We got barrel C coming off the 5th floor. Barrel C's barreled at 128.93. Barrel B is 133.35. That'll warm you up.
Yeah, it's hot.
And barrel A is 123.17 proof. These will all get diluted down to 120 when they bottle it. The process is pretty simple. When we sit down with 3 samples, we'll kind of run through the samples together the first time, notice little its and bits about each different one. Then we'll retaste and we'll kind of go through a process of elimination. So I've got barrel A. Like I said, this is off the 4th floor, Warehouse Z, Rick 28. Samples at 123.17, which is pretty close. This will be bottled at 120 once we select one or the other. We'll get a little shot in our glass here and get some air into it. Barrel B is Warehouse 1, Floor 6, Rick 83. This one is that warm one we talked about at 133.35 proof. It's creeping up there on straight fuel there. And our 3rd sample, Barrel C, is Warehouse P, Floor 5, Rick 3. Samples at 128.93.
All right, let's do this.
So usually after we take a look at the colors, we get a beautiful golden amber, sweet caramely look to it. We're gonna stick our noses in here a little bit and see what we can pick up on the nose. But the trick is you can't just stick your nose in the glass and take a big whiff because it's gonna take your breath away. The trick is to put the glass under your nose, open your mouth just a little bit, and breathe in slowly through your mouth. And what that does is you breathe in, it's gonna pull all those aromas into your palate and across your tongue and in your mouth, so you're not frying the back of your tonsils. The other trick, if you didn't know, is each of your nostrils pick up different smells. So it's fun to kind of do one nostril at a time and then do both nostrils at the same time, because you'll pick up different things with each side of your nose. Hot?
It's got some heat to it.
That's barrel A.
Yeah. I got a feeling they're all gonna, but it's just the way I like it.
Definitely picking up that number 4 char in that nose. So Knob Creek and Jim Beam on all their barrels use a level 4 char, which is the darkest char inside the barrel. Once they build the barrels, they put them literally over a fire. They cook them for an amount of time, and what that does is it literally, since you got a barrel hill, it adds just like charcoal on the inside of the barrel. And that helps deliver more flavor. The darker the char, the more flavor. You can go toast levels and you can go char levels. So these are all char 4 maximum flavor barrels.
I have a tendency to lean towards a little bit hotter. Very well balanced. I tend to overproof heat. Hot up front, ones that don't linger super long at the end of the palate. Very clean finishes, but I like a little of that heat up front, but it can't just be heat. It has to have more than that. Well, on one, I get obviously with the proof. I get hot, but there's a subtle sweetness. I don't know if it's caramel at the end. The nose doesn't linger too long. 2, I get, again, heat up front, but I get almost a woody oakiness in the mid to late nose.
Well, the higher up the floor is, because sample 2 was floor 6, the higher up in the rick house you get, the warmer it is, the bigger the temperature fluctuations. The bigger the temperature fluctuations, the more that distilled spirit moves in and out of that barrel. And that's where it's pulling all its color from and all its flavors from.
If anything, I'd say C has the darker color. Not much. It's super.
Oh yeah, I see it for sure.
2, I get, again, heat up front, but I get almost a woody oakiness in the mid to late nose. 3, I get alcohol, but I get almost an astringent with it. Not really sweet, more of that astringent alcohol to it, not just bourbon burn, not just bourbon heat, but an astringent to it.
I agree. They're going to number 3. I was tasting as you're talking about your nose, and there's definitely an astringent sharpness even on the palate, but you do get it on the nose. Kind of hits you right in the back of the throat versus the other 2, which are a much softer, more pleasant aroma to them. Not that the nose will totally determine if it's good or not. It'll give you some indicators, but
We've picked out where the nose is actually the worst on bottles and has came out to be the best taste.
So our first way through, we always just kind of sip through them, smell them, taste them. In our mind, we're making mental notes. And our first step, I guess, will be we'll see if we can agree on which one should go away first, right?
Well, that's gonna be tough on this one because I'm at 2 that are very close to each other.
Do you have a favorite?
I do.
All right. I think I have my least favorite. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
C.
Okay.
Not your least favorite?
My second least, or my middle.
What was your least?
My least was B.
Really?
I told you I'd be different today.
You are different today. Now you're being difficult.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'm not doing it on purpose either.
So let's focus on B and C, since that's his
We
least
all
favorite
agreed
and
that
my least
A
favorite.
is in the top.
So A is in the top 2. So we're gonna slide A up here because we know A is gonna be in our final 2. So our process right now is deciding between B and C, between the 2 of us and our 2 different palates, which one we agree to send away. So going back to why I didn't like C, the nose is great. It's got a little bit of fruitiness on it. You still get plenty of caramel, plenty of butterscotch.
That astringent, right?
And you do get the alcohol power on the nose. But yeah, there's almost like a burnt vanilla, like not a sweet vanilla, but a burnt vanilla. See, for me, C, even on the tip of the tongue, where you find all your sweetness right away. It's sharp. It's not a bad sharp, but it's astringent, it's spicy. And I don't get the sweetness up front, which is the difference in our palates always, is the sweetener of the spice. Way on the back,
Sorry, that went down the wrong tube.
that happens at least once, doesn't it?
It does. A little embarrassing, but so C, I get, that alcohol, that astringent. On C, I get almost like we we like to say almost like a malted barley finish.
A little oily.
Yep. And it just lingers, and that's almost an instant out for me is when you get anything that just got that malted barley really prevalent on the end. I'm not saying it is, but it's more so than the rest in my opinion.
I get that. I got it. Okay. All right. So revisiting after we got a little water in there, open up those esters, thin it out just a hair. I only added 2 drops to the entire glass, so totally changed the nose on 3, big time. And changed the nose on number 2 also, but not in a good way. Almost made 2 hotter, spicier, more astringent. Number 3, for me, at least it opens up sweetness, which now I'm thinking about changing my least favorite of the 2. I'm gonna have to agree with you. As much as I dislike to agree with you, I'm gonna have to agree with you. That water, for some reason on that 133 proof, made it hotter for me.
It did.
Like, didn't release any flavors, any aromas, but for number 3, it actually brought out some sweetness on the tip of the tongue and a little more balance on the back. And actually, I think it cut a little bit of that oiliness you're talking about.
It did. It crisped up the finish a little bit.
I agree with you. 2's done.
Perfect. B's dead.
Bye-bye. All right. So we're down to barrel 1/barrel A at 123.7 and barrel 3, barrel C at 128.93. I'm gonna add a couple drops of water to barrel A just to make it an even playing field. 1's pretty. Mm-hmm. 1's really pretty. It's got great mouthfeel.
It's just neat all the way
There's
through.
no hills and valleys. It's kind of a nice parabellum, comes down the end.
3's decent too, but it's got its ebbs and flows, where 1 is just straight all the way through, just really well balanced. It's sweet, it's got some finish, but it finishes super clean.
You almost get bitter chocolate on the back of number 1. Like a coffee? You wouldn't know, you always put creamer in your coffee.
It's true. Unless it tastes like almond milk creamer.
All right, if I was going off pure, this is my opinion, pure mouthfeel, balance, flavors, just based off of balance and mouthfeel, which was my least favorite the first time through, is barrel 3. But I know you, and you're a spice heat guy. Your favorite's number 1.
It is.
Yeah. So we do this all the time. Aaron's palate has always been spice, alcohol, heat with balance. Mine has always been sweet, tip of my tongue, balance, smooth all the way through.
Mine, I agree, this is good. There's something on that finish still
Yeah.
that the water hasn't cleaned up for me.
And that
Where this finish is so, yes, it's got some heat to it, but it finishes so much crisper.
and I go back for the original reason why I kicked out C in the beginning is there's something on the back side of that finish. You almost feel like you have a marble on the back of your tongue, like you can't get rid of it. This is our compromise, and this is how we do it. And the essence of Knob Creek and going into the bottle at 120 and what our customers may like, I can't not disagree with you and say number 1 is the best choice.
Yep.
So bye-bye number 3. Our winner today, barrel A number 1. We will be bottled at 120 proof. 4th floor, which is the lowest floor out of them, a little more moderate. Overall review, it starts off great. You get caramel sweetness on the tip of the tongue. The spice comes through that fast right afterwards. It's not a gradual ramp up. It's really nice, and here we go on the roller coaster. Let's take this ride. You get the spice explosion, the flavor explosion. The finish is super pleasant.
Great mouthfeel, it coats perfectly. The linger and the mouthfeel and the finish. It's just what I'm looking for in a Knob Creek single barrel.
So I hope you've enjoyed our little sneak peek of our new Knob Creek barrel hitting the shelves this week. If there's any other ones you'd like to see a little behind the scenes of, let us know, whether it's maybe Blanton's or Four Roses or whatever it may be. Give us a clue and we'll check it out. So as always, please enjoy our Knob Creek single barrel and all of our other products in moderation.